What do you do when the people who should love you most turn their backs on you? Right when the world expects gratitude? That's the question I wrestled with as I stood on the curb outside Aunt Clara's house, my breath fogging in the chilly November air. The scent of roasted turkey and pumpkin pie still lingered in my memory, but the warmth of the Thanksgiving table was gone. They'd kicked me out me own family, and their words stung worse than the cold. Thanksgiving isn't for losers, Ellie. Get your act together or don't come back. I was 22, barely scraping by, a college dropout with a part-time job at a diner. My cousins, with their shiny degrees and stable lives, sat around the table, their laughter like knives. Aunt Clara, the matriarch, had always preached family above all, but her eyes were ice when she pointed to the door. "You're an embarrassment," she'd said. My uncle didn't even look up from his plate. I'd spent weeks saving up to bring a homemade pecan pie, hoping it'd earn me a seat at their table. Instead, it sat untouched on the counter as I grabbed my backpack and walked out. The street was quiet, the glow of holiday lights mocking my solitude. I could have cried, but tears wouldn't fix this. I'd been the family's punching bag for years, the kid who never measured up. My mom died when I was 10, and Dad was long gone. Aunt Clara took me in, but it was clear I was more burden than blessing. Tonight, though, something snapped inside me. I wasn't just going to fade away. I headed to the diner, my only refuge. The neon sign flickered, and inside, the smell of coffee and grease felt more like home than Aunt Clara's ever had. My boss, Maria, was there, flipping burgers for the late-night stragglers. She took one look at my face and slid a mug of hot chocolate across the counter. "Family troubles?" she asked. I nodded, too raw to speak. Maria didn't pry. She just handed me an apron and said, "Help me out tonight. It'll keep your mind off it." The diner was busier than usual, filled with people who, like me, had nowhere else to go on Thanksgiving. There was old man Jenkins, who'd lost his wife years ago, nursing his coffee. A trucker named Sam, far from his kids, told bad jokes to hide his loneliness. A young couple, barely older than me, shared a single plate of fries, their eyes full of dreams but their wallets empty. I served them, poured refills, and listened to their stories. Each one chipped away at the ache in my chest. Then I had an idea, crazy, reckless idea. I whispered it to Maria, who raised an eyebrow but nodded. "You're nuts, Ellie, but I'm in." I grabbed the spare ingredients from the kitchen: flour, sugar, butter, and a few cans of pumpkin from the pantry. I'd make pies, just like the one I'd brought to Aunt Clara's. Not for them, but for the people here, the ones who didn't have a table to call their own. We worked late into the night. The diner transformed into a makeshift bakery. Maria blasted her old jazz records, and Sam even helped roll out dough, laughing when he got flour on his beard. Jenkins told stories of Thanksgivings past, his voice cracking with nostalgia. The couple pitched in, decorating the counter with paper napkins folded into clumsy turkeys. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. By midnight, we had 6 pumpkin pies, warm and fragrant, ready to share. I cut slices for everyone, even the latecomers who wandered in, drawn by the light and laughter. The diner glowed with something I hadn't felt in years: connection. These strangers, these losers, like me, became my family for the night. We ate, we talked, we laughed until our sides hurt. Sam raised his coffee mug and said, "To Ellie, who turned a crap day into something sweet." Everyone cheered, and for the first time in forever, I felt like I belonged. But I wasn't done. The next morning, I packed up the leftover pies and walked back to Aunt Clara's. My heart pounded as I knocked on the door. She opened it, her face souring at the sight of me. Before she could speak, I set a pie on the porch. "This is for you," I said. "Not because I need your approval, but because I'm better than the way you treat me." Her mouth opened, but no words came. I turned and walked away, my head high. The surprise wasn't just the pie. It was me choosing to rise above their cruelty, to find my own kind of family, to give when I had so little. Thanksgiving wasn't about perfection or winning. It was about gratitude for the people who see you, even when you're at your lowest. And as I walked back to the diner, the sunrise painting the sky gold, I knew I'd never be a loser again. I'd found my place, and it was sweeter than any dessert.